Hi everybody. Today I wanted to go over how to transform our species diversity data here into summary data and then also a chart to show off that data. So here's all of our species diversity data for each 3 of our habitats. And first we want to find the count, which is basically just the number of samples that we took or the number of cells that we have here. So if we go to our functions, there is a count function. Click OK, and then we just highlight all the cells we want to be included within that function. Hit OK or Enter, and then now you've got it. And then we want to find the sum, which just adds all of these numbers together. And that one is super easy because there's usually an auto sum button on your Excel or whatever spreadsheet program you're using. So we hit the auto sum, and then once again, we highlight all the cells that we want to be included within the function, hit Enter or OK, and then we have a sum. Then we want to calculate an average, which can be calculated by hand using the count and the sum. However, it's very easy to do through Excel because they have an average function. Once again, we click OK and we highlight all the cells that we want to be included. Enter, and there you have your average. Last but not least is variance, which will become much more understandable why we want to calculate it once we do the chart. But basically, it shows the variance of the data among the average. You can also calculate this by hand, but once again, a spreadsheet makes it much easier. This function is a little harder to find, but we're looking for a function called var.s. Okay, this is one type of variance, although there are several that Excel can do. So look for VRS and use that, and then once again, we're going to be highlighting the cells that we want to be included, which is our single habitat, and hit OK, and then we have a variance. And then we're going to be doing that for all these cells as well, for our moderate and our dry. So I'm going to fast forward a bit and have that already done. Okay, so now all of our summary fields are filled out. We are going to create a chart here. So to create a chart, what we want to do is highlight our title cells, as well as the cells of data that we want to be in the chart, which we want to use the averages. The variances will come into play later, and I'll show you how. First, we pick a chart. I like to go real simple. Here's their automatic chart from our data. You can see the titles here, and then the variance levels here. We'll put a chart title in real quick. Water availability, species diversity. Okay, so here are the averages. What we really want to do here is add these variances in. And we can do that by adding a chart element and adding error bars. This is how you'll typically see them presented in scientific journals. So we don't want any of the normal ones here. What we want is a custom. And then we're going to specify the value, and this is where we're going to enter in our variances. So a real easy way to do this is to click on this button, which once again will let you just highlight the cells you want to use. And the spreadsheet application is smart enough to know which one should be going to which bar. So then once you hit OK, we've seen these error bars change now. And you can see that for wet, the variance is about 0.55. And you can see that here. So after about 1.5, it jumps up to 2 or it jumps down to 1, right? And so forth for the others. So then we can close this. And then what I want to do is add the average numbers onto the chart, because I like to be able to see them when I'm looking. So we can do data labels. I like to do the inside base because then it doesn't interfere with the error bars that we've put in, but you can do any of them. So now we can look directly at this wet habitat, see the average species diversity, which is about 1.5. However, we also see that there's a really wide variance in the data, okay? And what that is really meaning is how varied the data is from that average. So if we look at the moderate, we can see it was just about 0.2, which means if you went into the field, the likelihood that you get a sample with the species diversity about this average, that it's a high likelihood that it'll be within this range here, which is pretty small and pretty close to the actual average. Whereas in the wet habitat, that range of likelihood of what species diversity you're actually going to find in your sample is pretty wide. So the species diversity is pretty varied. Anyway, this is a chart and a summary that we can look at, transformed all of our semi-raw data here, that if you were to just look at this table, it'd be difficult to understand what exactly is going on that we found out. However, the chart and this little table here is much, much easier to understand. Thanks.